to the vlog, everybody. Welcome back. Piper says, welcome back. Piper also says, if I'm close to you for long enough, I will try and eat you. I'm in my eating everything stage. And I just want to eat the belly. I just want to eat the belly. She's such a waste of time. In the greatest sense. Oh, is that nice? Oh. Just because all you want to do is just hang out with her and watch her and speak to her and just be silly. And it means it's really difficult to talk to you about things. Different vlog this week. Thank you for coming back and watching another one. What I wanted to do was just answer one person's question as quickly as I can. Actually, I'm actually in Cornwall and I have to rush out of the door now. Pretty much now. So this was going to be a much longer video, but I think I'm just going to keep it quite succinct. As succinct as I could be. I'll sit on my lap. Do you want to sit here? And this is what I mean, like I'm always distracted by her. We're always just distracted by the baby. Oh, she's biting everything. And she's in that kind of like Yorkshire Terrier hair grow out stage where the blonde at the roots is really coming through. Can you see that grey blonde? And those black streaks are growing out until all the black will be gone. But it's such an awkward phase at the moment. Sorry, sweetheart. You can go and rest. Oh, there's a nice sock there. Do you want a sock? Here, have a sock. Who doesn't love a sock? What little puppy doesn't love destroying a sock? The question was about getting into my career and how you get into it. What does that mean? What does 0 minutes mean? What does 0 minutes mean? 0 minutes left on the card? I'm going to stop you before I get delete cut off halfway through. Hang on a sec. I knew that's what was going to happen, that I wouldn't set this up properly and then I'd end up having all these interruptions. And you just give me 5 minutes and Piper will probably pee on the floor. Pipes! Pipes! What's this? Do you mind if I hold a sock in my hand and drag a puppy around while I'm talking to you? Getting into my career. So, I think I talked about this a little bit in a longer video about maybe the things, I think the video was called Things I Hate About Being a Makeup Artist. And I think, but I wanted to sort of expand a little bit on how maybe to get into the industry, because I own an agency called the Hair and Makeup Agency, or Hair and Makeup Collaborative is the full name, but I call it agency in terms of like a Google search. It's just easier. And I get so many emails all the time asking me, and people want to join up straight out of college, and I wish it was this way, but it's just, you can only go in an agency with a lot of experience. So there's a lot of pathways in makeup, and again, I don't think that's really taught to people about the different genres that you can go into, and possibly why they don't really mix. So you've got fashion, you've got TV, you've got film, you've got theatre. Fashion editorial is the magazines, sort of the e-com, and the big celebs who are touring in music tours or on press junkets around different countries who want the same makeup artist with them all the time. I know that sounds strange that you'd be doing celebs if you're a fashion makeup artist, but it's normally the fashion makeup artists that get onto an agency's books. Caveat to that is that my agency is a TV agency, whereas normal agencies are fashion based. To get into fashion, you work for years and you build up a book, and the book is a portfolio of images that you take as collaborations with other photographers and models to create this portfolio, and they're through doing tests, and a test is basically a shoot that you all do for free. That's what we call a test. And then out of that you get loads and loads of pages, and you also start assisting big makeup artists who already have agency representation, fashion makeup artists and editorial makeup artists, and that was a tooth, and you assist them for years, and eventually you might get taken on by that agency yourself. So all that time you're building up your book. You're doing fashion shows, fashion weeks, New York, Milan, Paris, London. None of it will be paid, and you'll be doing that for quite a long time. And you'll earn money on the side by maybe doing, I don't know, private jobs, weddings, red carpets, working in a pub, whatever. And there's a lot of free work at the beginning of any pathway into the industry, but fashion is particularly hard because you have to have such a good book to begin with, and you know, you're not really doing any sort of paid commercial work. But the flip side is once you actually get an agent and then you start doing the big A-list celebs, you're getting £1,000 a day. So that's that pathway. Hard one to get into if you don't like the fashion industry, if you don't really want to be in that kind of world, which is quite a difficult world. Hard one to get into because it's unpaid for so many years, and then actually fashion, even when you do have representation, doing a Vogue cover is like £200. It's paid so badly, but the flip side is you get the big celeb work out of it. Then there's theatre. So theatre is quite unsociable. It tours around the UK, or it could be around the world, or theatre in the West End if you're England based, or Broadway if you're America based, or what's the LA version of Broadway? Don't know. And that would mean you need to do probably hair and makeup. Hair more so because you're more likely to be doing wig work, moustaches, beards, quick changes. You need to be able to do period work, so you know, doing intricate wigs and hair designs, making wigs, quick changeovers, and character makeup, costume makeup. So quite a thing in itself, and you might want to study prosthetics for that. Very unsociable. You're always working, say, from 2 3 in the afternoon till well into the night, and that's every night, as well as like matinees on the Sunday, and like I say, touring that theatre piece possibly all over the UK. So it's regular work, which is great, and it's paid work. Actually, I don't know about getting into it. I guess there is quite a lot of assisting and work experience, but I would say you could probably get some kind of like ensemble, like background makeup work quite quickly within theatre. Wouldn't be well paid. Theatre is notoriously badly paid. Even a big actor in the West End would be getting something like £800, £700 a week, and they're at the top of the billing. So can you imagine how much you'd be getting paid very low down the sort of billing in a theatre piece? So that's theatre, and what I didn't say about fashion editorial makeup is that you were either makeup or your hair. So it's quite nice because you just get to concentrate on one thing, whereas with TV, theatre, and sometimes film, you do both. So let's talk about, well, basically I'm going to go through the ones that I don't do until what I do. This one knows quite a lot about do. Sorry if this is really distracting, it's the only way to keep her entertained, she keeps biting me. Film. So film is script. It comes under scripted, and also that would be scripted. I'm sorry, that just really hurt my love. I know you didn't know it was my hand inside there. Oh, she's just such a biter at the moment. That really hurt. Film is scripted, so that could also be TV dramas, TV soaps. Anything like that. I wonder if I can just get her a little cuddly toy. Or is she going to sit there okay? For scripted film, you need to be studying prosthetics to begin with, wig work, hair work, and makeup. So it's really broad. You have to assist for a long time. Did she just jump off the bed by herself? That's where we're here. Do you know what? I'm just going to take an assess. I'm worried she needs to pee. Sorry, probably in a completely different angle now. So, getting into film is great and scripted because they're normally long-running projects. You're normally looking at 6 months to a year on one project. That's continuous work almost every day. Very unsociable if you want to be near home, or you know, have quite a home life, or you know, a social life, because you know, you could be in a field in Kent for 6 weeks doing 3 AM starts, and obviously as hair and makeup team, especially for prosthetics and wigs, 3 AM isn't a stretch. You know, it's very grueling, very long days, but it is paid properly. It's paid. You'll get pre-call money, you'll get overtime money, you might even get some like day off, like holiday type money, and you're sort of, it's very looked after in the sense that it's all done properly, whereas like my world isn't got like kind of those what would you call it, rules and regulations around it. And then of course if you do film and you do scripted, it means you can go into dramas, you can go into soaps, something like Coronation Street or EastEnders, because you've got this like really broad range of skills that can apply to, like if someone has a car accident, if someone needs to be aged, if someone needs to look like they're sweating, if someone loses their hair and you need to do a ball cap. But it is hard to get into in the sense that you probably do need to, well, you do need to study for that. I would say doing a course is really important. I think if you've got a real talent, doing courses necessarily aren't always necessary, but I would say with obviously with wigs and prosthetics, that there's a note, you have to do that. I wonder if you were 16, 17, 18 years old and you went in from the literal ground up, like cleaning brushes, working for free for a few years, whether you need to go to university or whether you could just learn from your peers. Yeah, that's possible too if you're lucky enough to find those contacts when you're that young. And then we go into my area, which is TV, corporate and commercial. So unscripted TV, and I'm talking magazine shows, Saturday night shiny floor shows. So magazine shows would be things like This Morning, Lorraine, Loose Swimming, The One Show, whereas shiny floor shows would be like your Saturday night, Andex Saturday Night Takeaway, Michael McIntyre's big show, Nights at the Palladium, an audience with, or I could do talking head documentaries, so there's kind of like little programs you might see on Channel 5 or Channel 4, like things kids did in the 80s, or just like, it's called light entertainment is the word I'm in, so it's like things you would watch on a weekday or Saturday night as a form of entertainment, which are not scripted. They are just quiz shows, they're comedy shows, they're documentaries. I do a lot of documentaries that are actually, you know, obviously really serious things about IRA or the war or people's illnesses or living with disabilities, and that would be doing the hair and makeup for that. And all the hair and makeup I do is very normal. It's just making people look the best version of themselves that are so they are camera ready. That could involve a hair trim for the men, nose, ears. It could involve a wig if that person wears a wig, but I wouldn't be making the wig, I'll just be fitting it. I do a lot of older celebs, and that could be maybe taping their neck up, getting the wrinkles at bay, doing a little facial beforehand. It's very much sort of glam, getting them feeling good about themselves in whichever I had, normally with very little time. So that's the area I'm in. I also do corporate and commercial, so that could be a car commercial out in a racetrack in a field for Mercedes, or it could be doing the tennis at Wimbledon, you know, just getting the hosts, the presenters, the pundits ready for that. It could be a commercial for some batteries in a car garage in Kent. It's really varied, but also on top of that you could do private work. So, you know, I might do a red carpet for a celeb, I might do a wedding for someone. Weddings are difficult because they're more planned in advance, and I would probably never take a wedding in 2 years' time because I could have a 2-week series that it would clash with. So it's quite a last minute job. I'd say the difference between me and scripted is scripted, you know exactly where you're going to be for months or weeks, and then with me, don't know if I'm working tomorrow or next week. Well, I might be, maybe tomorrow, but people get sick, people need cover, things come in last minute, so it is quite a varied job. You don't really know where you stand, you don't know if any money's going to come in that month or how much. When it comes to rates as well, my daily rate is about £7.50. Am I going to get paid that? No. Did I start off at that? No, I started off about £2.50 a day. Went to about £4.50 and now I'm £7.50. That said, I'll get a job tomorrow for a 3-day documentary honouring the life of Alan Rickman. And it will be a documentary talking to his loved ones, his friends, his fellow actors and colleagues, Harry Potter people, whatever. And I'll say to them my daily rate is £7.50, and they'll probably come back and say, I'm sorry, we've only got £400 a day in the budget. And then I personally never argue about that. I just say thank you and take the money, because I haven't got any other work for the next 3 days next week, and I want those 3 days. Also, the difference with it is I am meeting a new production company. There'll be lots of people and lots of actors coming through my chair, and it could be ongoing work. So even though we have a daily rate, no one has to pay us it. And it also doesn't really mean whether it's a 12-hour day or a 5-hour day. You know, sometimes you get paid really well for 2 hours work, and sometimes you get really paid badly for 12 hours work. And you just got to kind of take that as it is and know that's part of the job. Whereas maybe in film you are a very structured hourly rate and you know what you're getting and you get overtime. But most jobs that I do, if they say we're going to wrap at 6, you can pretty much know it's going to be 7 or 8. You know, so if you have children, if you have to get home for a reason, if you have pets, working in TV, light entertainment is not good because things go wrong, and that counts for film as well, but things overrun, timings go wrong, people are late, and yeah, you're normally the first to leave and first to arrive and last to leave. You also have to carry a huge amount of kit, and you have to travel with that all over the country, so you've got to build that time it takes to do that into your day. In terms of getting into my particular career, I did a degree at London College of Fashion. That was 3 years, and then when I graduated, most people went into working on a department store counter or Mac, or at the time there was only Mac, and there was definitely no Charlotte Tilbury or anything. This was 23 years ago. I didn't, because I really didn't. I wasn't interested in makeup as a hobby, and I still am not. It was my career, but I didn't want to make it my whole world, which is a bit silly really, because it's a good way to get contacts. So instead I just worked in a store in Covent Garden, made loads of friends and had a great time. But the great thing about working in Covent Garden, I did pub work and all different bits and pieces, because I was shooting for free, I was testing and doing work experience at the same time, like I talked about earlier, is that at that time there was a lot of creatives doing these jobs in Covent Garden and Soho. Photographers, people who were working in magazines, people who wanted to be actors, dancers, models. And actually, just by hanging around and drinking and working in shops with those people, I made a lot of contacts, and that helped me in my career as well. It was a very collaborative time. It was like the early 2000s, and everything felt really possible, and that we were going to have these mad careers, and didn't really question that. So actually I think it was better for me, because I was working with boys and girls and older people and younger people, whereas I think just working on a makeup counter I would have been like soul destroying. Although probably quite good to practice on all different people. So like I say, I was assisting makeup artists, I was doing weddings, I was doing work experience, I was acting as a runner for different production companies, so that's just within the TV programme, being the person who does the running, makes the coffees, gets the things from the shops, goes and sources some dry cleaning, goes and picks up a car for someone who needs it for a job. And that way I made friends with lots of different people within production companies, who in turn knew I was actually a makeup artist, who would introduce me to makeup people within their programs that they were making, and then I could assist them. So it was a kind of a good way to get in there without, actually working as makeup straight away. I also met a lot of makeup artists from doing some plus size modelling. Would tell them that I'm a makeup artist and then started assisting them. And my big break came with one of those makeup artists called Nikki Clark, who was doing my makeup for a job, and said she worked in the news at the BBC. Now, news and current affairs is a great, what we call bread and butter job, because news is on every single day, 365 days a year. It's a standard rate and standard hours, and they're at the time, and things are changing now, but BBC, Sky, Al Jazeera, CGTN, CNN, tons of news channels in London that constantly need 24-hour hair and makeup. And she said she did that at the BBC, and that the BBC were expanding into the World Service, and not just the English news and the news readers that you see on the 6 and 10 o'clock and whatever news, lunchtime news. They were doing news channels for Iran, Arabic news channels, Swahili, Hindu, Urdu, and they needed a lot more makeup artists, and that was my way in. And I knew I was going to get £250 a day there, and the shifts were like 9 to 5, or 1 PM to 10 PM, or 5 PM to 1 PM, very set things. And I was getting about 6 shifts a month, so that really helped with me paying rent, which meant I could stop working in a trainer store that I was working in at the time and fully throw myself into hair and makeup, still doing work experience, still making contacts, but I knew I had something to fall back on. And then of course, once I was in the BBC, I met other makeup artists, and then we all started giving each other work, started doing more news channels, I started doing more programmes, and it all expanded and kind of snowballed from there. I'm going to elaborate on this in another video about what my career looks like after starting the BBC at 22, and like what it's like now at 42, so 20 years in. I think you'll be surprised that not a lot of change, and the money definitely hasn't really gone up. But and maybe in the next video I want to talk about what I assumed and what hasn't happened, but also what people didn't tell me, and I wish I would have done things differently. I wish I would have known, so I might have done things differently. But anyway, I am now officially late for where I'm meant to be, so I'm going to wrap it here. Thank you for watching. Any questions, please let me know, and let's carry this on in another video. See you soon.